everybody. Welcome to another session of Humans of HR, where we are in conversation with Mr. Chan Narayan. The last podcast was very interesting because we got a lot of response to that because we focused on the first set of four parameters that we need to be looking at when we are focusing on engaging people at workplaces using the cultural axis. And the focus were majorly on the rite of passage. How do you get people into the system? You can make it easy for them and become special, or make it difficult for them and make them feel as if they earn their spots. And that's the first one. Second, food again is something very important, and a lot of engagement can happen around that. We have a lot of success stories where organizations have leveraged the time around and with food to get people together to think together and ideate together and grow. The third thing is play, right? And it's important that people feel engaged, and doing activities together many times kind of unlocks that kind of an aspect, and people feel alive, and they start believing in things together as a team. And the fourth aspect that we had covered was, Chief, you want to step in? What was the fourth aspect we had spoken about?
So
We
yeah,
had spoken about,
tribe
sorry,
membership. Tribe.
tribe membership. Absolutely right. Um, you would see that one example that came to my head was people who drive, at least a few years back, till a few years back, almost a decade back, on the streets, you would never see a Royal Enfield guy fighting with another Royal Enfield guy because they always felt like they were a part of a tribe. Okay, and you want to flaunt the fact that you belong to that group. And even in organizations, I think it's extremely important for people to feel as if they are connected by a thread, and that could be the culture, and that makes them feel like a tribe. Now, in total, we promised that we'll be talking about 10 very important aspects related to culture, using which we could build a beautiful employee engagement strategy. So we covered four, there are six more. So, what's the next one that we want to talk about, Chief?
Oh, that's the psychological part in terms of the psychological unfoldment as this very interesting psychologist from the Austrian school, Rudolf Steiner, said about 100 odd years back. He has a lot of fancy theories, but this one I find very interesting. He talks about this 7-year cycle in which human psychology tends to unfold um, by parts. So, for example, when you're born to age 7, he says that that's the time that you build the sense of the self. 7 to 14 is when you build the sense of the other.
Mm.
And then from 14 to 21, you build a sense of the opposite gender. You become aware of your own sexuality and of the and you become very conscious of the opposite gender. What is interesting for organizational practitioners is the subsequent 4, 5 stages. So he says age 21 to 28 is the unfolding of the psychology of the rebel. Now, I'm putting these words, he would have said it in different ways, but I'm giving you my interpretation because I wanted to kind of be easy to understand. So, what he says is that this is the time that people are typically at the peak of their physical prowess, and and also psychologically they want to accomplish a lot. They want to prove themselves to others, and also it is in this time period that the development of the what is called the executive function happens. And this is a very interesting piece. I can't dwell too deeply here because that's a bit of a distraction. But what I will say is that young people will tend to take more risks in their lives because they are impulsive at this stage. In the
mm,
prefrontal cortex, a physical change has not yet happened in the brain, which makes them kind of consider all aspects before they take a decision. They will go with the first thought that comes to their mind. They tend to be very impulsive. And in this impulse, they also want to, they think of themselves typically as being Alexander the Great out to conquer the world. Now, that's a very useful and very creative energy, provided organizations and societies can harness it.
mm, mm,
And so, wise organizations understand that young people want to accomplish a lot. And so, they give them some anchors and some support and create the psychological safety around them, handhold them as well. They do need some adulting around them, but use that energy to get great things done, make great things happen, to conquer the world, so to say. It works
mm,
for both this young person as well as the worst thing that can happen to a young person in the age of 21 to 28 when they come into an organization is to feel stifled by the management policies or their bosses or the environment,
mm,
feeling
mm,
that I want to do so much, but these guys are not allowing me to do that. And there is a lot of venting around any organization that prevents that, typically using the words bureaucratic or very constrained. So that's one aspect. The other three stages that are of interest is for the organization is that age 28 to 35. Steiner says that we start turning into kind of, so we're no longer the rebels. We kind of becoming familiar and comfortable with the system that we were rebelling against. We're turning into exactly what we hated about things around us and we wanted to change. And so these also coincide with a lot of life events, and we'll talk about that the next factor. But suffice to say here, they're more willing to be coached, they're more willing to be amenable to look at different perspectives. The executive function, the physiological change in the brain has happened. And so now they're going to be a little more cautious than they were in their decision making and actions and behaviors as compared to earlier. So this is the time where a lot of coaching, mentoring, helping them understand, investing in them for the longer term, in building them up as great professionals is going to help the organization quite a lot. 35 to 42 people typically now are commanding a team. They've become the bosses, and they're exactly at the place where they're deciding what happens mostly, while they may still be reporting into a general manager or a vice president, but operationally they are typically in charge. And again, so here is a place where the skills of influencing without authority, of not being a bully, if you kind of cut to the chase, of understanding how to align people, how to help build collaboration, all of these nuanced capabilities, they need to come into play in this particular frame of age. 42 to
49.
49 is a difficult time for the individual as well as for their interface with the organization. Why? Because this is the phase that this guy, Rudolf Steiner, says is the search for meaning. And that happens because of multiple things, including the person realizing that they're mortal as well. They've seen symptoms of mortality, that they're no longer as young as they were. And there are a lot of existential questions that come into their heads. They have to solve for that. And so they're searching for meaning. Whatever they have accomplished so far becomes meaningless. what they have missed out on. For example, if somebody is being a workaholic, that is when they kind of start questioning, did I waste my life? Now there's no rewinding. And did I kind of pick up all of these lifestyle illnesses and soured relationships because I didn't give time to it? And so they will tend to swing in the other dimension. So the organization needs to be a little more supportive, a little more understanding, if possible, curate opportunities for people within to who are going through this so-called midlife crisis. Midlife crisis is kind of a very blunt uh, instrument to define it as, and a lot of people will claim that people are going through midlife crisis at 25. So I find Steiner's conception definition of it a little better. So out of this, there are apparently three paths. One is you become very self-resolved, which means that as an individual, as a professional, as a coach, as a mentor, as a leader, people look up to you and they enjoy their interface with you, etc. On the other hand, if you get soured and curdled and warped, then you are the kind of individual nobody wants to interface with. And there is a struggle there. Typically, one of the interesting things is that probably people get into organized religion during this phase because it gives people a lot of rituals, and rituals kind of tend to calm our mind till the time that we are engaged in that ritual. All of these existential questions are kind of put at abeyance till the time we are doing this ritual. It could be a religious ritual, it could be a social ritual, it could be a personal ritual. For example, drinking becomes a personal ritual for a lot of people at this time, which can lead to a lot of challenges both on in the
No,
person.
I also see a lot of people in this age group. Uh, they come together as a group, and I see a lot of people running.
Hmm.
Okay, it could be any ritual, right? It's forming that group,
And
and
there's nothing wrong or right about that, Harish, is
correct.
what I wanted to say. I think we have to process this ourselves, and we have to find each one of us has to find our answers in terms of meaning ourselves. And I think a good thing would be for an organization to understand this and not stand in the way and block. Maybe help also curate some things that can be of help. Back to you, you were saying something more.
So, very interesting because I think for any HR practitioner, it's important to understand the demographics uh, of their audience, and yes, this 7 year is a very easy way to. It's a broader way of segregating and um, be more aware of the audience that you have and curate experiences that kind of engages them, because the same thing is not going to engage everybody. And honestly, there are organizations where I've seen people over the last 5 6 years. Until 6 years back, they would be on the stage to dance,
Hmm.
and now I've seen them move to the next phase where they are managers and they sit back and see that their reportees kind of perform on stage. And when I asked them, they said, "Hey, nahi yaar, now it's I think I've passed that." And I'm talking from personal experience. I've seen this transition happen in less than 5 years for people. So I think that's a fantastic indicator for HR practitioners to curate things that cater to the audience that they are dealing with. The
Hmm.
same thing surely is not going to get everybody excited about. Fabulous point. Thanks, Chief. What's coming up next?
Yeah, well, so to add to what you're saying, you were kind. Ricardo Semler, this one man whom I admire quite a lot, he was very blunt.
Mm,
He was visiting faculty at I think Stanford, and so he says that I don't want to talk to. He would be teaching these MBA students. He says
mm,
I don't want to talk to you about where you are now. I want to talk to you about the time when you will be 42 years old. You will exchange your wife for two 21-year-olds and a Ferrari. that is the time that I want to talk to you about right now. So you were kind. Yeah. So that's 42 to 49 for you. 49 to 56, there is a kind of a reversal. You want to kind of go back to your kind of 20, 14 to 21. And so if you're self-resolved, you're kind of looking, you become very conscious about others around you who haven't had all the privileges that you had in your life. And so you tend to want to kind of be kinder for them and to be more inclusive. You widen your circle. You want to do right by people who haven't had the best of uh, luck as or privileges as you had, and so you become very conscious. From a gender perspective, you start realizing that if you've grown up in a patriarchal society and there is some amount of patriarchy around you still, you try and be the one kind of a person leader who is kind of more open to giving opportunities to people who traditionally have struggled, to be more inclusive, to be more diverse in your hiring, in your mentoring, in your you kind of respond differently to somebody who is struggling but has come this far, which is a long distance, because they didn't have any of the privileges that others had. So you would be more accommodating, you would be more conscious of trying to help this person do better in their lives. And so you're a kinder person. On the other hand, you could also kind of, if you're soured in the 42 to 49 phase, you could become a terrible boss. You could kind of um, um, it could harden your stance on some of the
A
prejudices.
lot of ego trips.
You could kind of be very unforgiving, very nasty, very you could become a bully and kind of reinforce all the negativities that you've experienced in your life. And you would think that that's the right thing to do. So there is both an opportunity and a challenge there. And so there are some interesting things that organizations can do around this point, Um, and I think one that comes to mind is um, the, what the author of emotional intelligence had mentioned that was part of his research. Um, he found that, and he was a reporter who was covering the armed forces, particularly the Navy, and he saw that the officers, when they become a captain or a commander, that's the time that they get deputed to the headquarters in the Pentagon. And from 3,000 people kind of moving according to their wishes and at their command, suddenly they are the lowest in the hierarchy in the power rung. They have to go fetch coffee for the admiral or whoever the boss may be, and they have to start all over again. And what this guy's finding was that created the ability for this person to become more grounded, to be more emotional, become more emotionally intelligent, so that when they go back into a field role from the head office, they tend to be better leaders. They tend to be more empathetic leaders. They tend to be able to be more successful in building collaboration and building psychological safety, etc. So very interesting that, again, so we refer to the Marines in the armed forces and here. My sense is that this must have evolved. It doesn't seem to me to be a very conscious design, but I could be wrong. I think the first person who reorganized the armed forces, supposedly in the the Prussian army. He's supposed to have kind of looked at who are the people who are officer material, and he found that, and he used a 2 by 2 matrix, and he found that the people who are both lazy and intelligent, and so because they are intelligent and they're lazy, they will find a shortcut, are the people who he thought should be our office material, and so on. So I'm forgetting to recollect his name. He had an uncle who had the same name, the Prussian army. But coming back to our psychological things, the so 49 to 56, the person becomes more open-hearted, so to say, more inclusive, more supportive, etc. 56, if things have gone right in their lives,
Mm.
they become reasonably self-resolved, with or without the organization's help. So I'm suggesting that organization should help. 56 to 63, Rudolf Steiner says that then this reverts to the second phase of the childhood, the psychology of the other. So that is the time that you remember your childhood friends, your batchmates, your relatives, your family, and you want to go back and give back to that community. You want to contribute back. You say, I gained so much, or even if I didn't gain so much, I love those people. I love that place and time in my life, and so I have a wish to kind of contribute something positive back to them for everything that I got or didn't get or I missed out on. I'll let others in that community not miss it. And so we want to go back to our roots. We want to be remembered for having come back and contributed. And that's the kind of a legacy we want to build. So I'll stop here. These are the 4 phases that are typically interesting for organizations to look at. And there are multiple things that can be done. I doubt if, and especially from the Western perspective, this seems to be too personal to get into. But hey, you're organizing these yoga classes and these, meditation practice classes and all the time. So, do it with some understanding is what I'm saying. Curate some of these experiences and also help the organization link up, tie up, and showcase these options for taking a break and going to, for example, an ashram and living that life for 20 days and to figure out yourself. It's important. One needs to take a sabbatical and, to sort oneself out, especially at this at these critical points.
Mm.
So to each their own. My point was to just put this out there and to
On
have
a on a
see.
lighter note,
Hmm.
on, on a lighter note, imagine the HR taking a bunch of senior folks to the ashram, and half of them don't come back, and now you have to go and explain the attrition to your boss. That's going to be interesting. But I mean, having said that, I think these indicators are extremely important to factor. Yeah, go ahead. You want to say something?
So there's I'm not sure if this is practiced, but Ricardo Semler did kind of come up with something very interesting. And here is what his uh, way of thinking, as if I can explain that, the frame that he used. He said that there are 3 important things in our lives as we work to earn a living. The first one is discretionary time. How much time do I have every day that I can
For
spend
myself.
on whatever it is that, not necessarily myself, on whatever it is that I want? Nobody else has a say on it. So I can spend that playing a video game. I can spend that reading a book, watching television, roaming around, or just lazing around. But that's my time. The second quantity he talks about is discretionary income. How much money do I have that is just mine to spend, and I don't have to think about rent. I don't, what is that money that I can just kind of not think about and spend. The third is health. How good am I in terms of my physical mental health? What is the quantum of it? Is it less? Is it 2 out of 10? Is it 10 out of 10? How am I feeling? How am I doing physically and mentally and psychologically and socially? And so he says that, and he plots these in terms of age 0 to maybe age 70. And what happens is that at age 3.5, 4, when you start going to play school or to school, your discretionary time drops and it keeps dropping till it becomes literally zero, all the way through to maybe around 40 to 49, depending on how much self resolution you've figured out. And so you don't have too much discretionary time apart from being able to sleep and catch some food. The if you are the typical office goer, the typical professional, and not right or wrong. I'm just pointing out that the discretionary time reduces, especially when as you become a manager, as you become a leader, that discretionary time keeps reducing more and more. Of course, the trick is to be able to manage to do much more in the same time, to be able to still create those pockets of time that are entirely yours. But a lot of people miss out on that uh, during the journey. They realize it post the journey when they're burnt out. Discretionary income, it keeps rising. Health, kind of, you're lucky, it'll still deteriorate slowly till you have a walk, you need a walker at 70, maybe, hopefully, not before that. So what he finds is the imbalance is that when people have the time and they have the health, they don't have the money. When people have the money and the health, they don't have the time. And when you're kind of about to retire, you have the money, maybe you have the time. Your health is not going to allow you to go climb up Mount Kilimanjaro on that trek or do a trek in the Himalayas. Uh, well, trek being a very far off option. Can't even take out time, or can't even go to simple things, enjoy simple pleasures in life. So I think that's where Ricardo Semler, Semco, allows a young person to take time off, and they don't dock the pay. It's not leave on loss of pay. They say, we'll pay you the same. But hey, if you took 20 days off to go do something which you're very passionate about, then later, do give that time to something else in the organization. Later, when you have time and you have money, but you don't have health and you want engagement, then come back and do something for me. I was reading about these Japanese firms who have a lot of very old people who just sit there in the office doing nothing. It's a cultural thing. And I think this is one of the good things that I think about the Japanese culture. They're long lived people. And so just the presence of this old person tells about a lot of values of the organization to people. And once in a while, they will step into a meeting or in a review, and then they will give some pearls of wisdom, which is worth all the time that uh,
Mhm.
they've contributed. So there are ways in which we organizations very rarely have tried to use this, and I think that's a Western kind of a thing. If you look at especially family businesses in India, they're very involved with people's lives, people who work for them. So
Oh,
I think they might do well to step back a little bit. But overall, I think formal organizations, can do a lot more. And that helps build a lot of engagement. And it's meaningful because it all comes back into the organization. The more self-resolved a person is as a manager, as a leader, the better it is for the organization. Back to you.
Very interesting. I think um, this whole idea of striking the balance between uh, time, money, and health. I think because these are three factors that everybody kind of interacts with on a daily basis, and it's easy for everybody to kind of put it on a graph, on a piece of paper, on where they are, and at no point do we see that we are high on all three of them. Uh, and there are times when we are possibly low on all of them. Uh, so I think it's important because it's not about chasing one of the three. It's not chasing two of the three. It's about trying to see how do we strike that balance at least at some phase in life. That's very beautifully said. So I think this is a fantastic framework um, for practitioners, HR practitioners to understand when they define employee engagement, which is such a large. The scope is humongous. It's not just about how do you get people to turn up to work all energized, but it also plays a role in helping people understand their roles, their aspirations, and what is it that they really enjoy doing, and that could have a very profound impact on how people look at work, workplace, employer, teams, peers, tribes, and whatnot. So, what would be? I mean, we've spoken about culture for two episodes now. I think we've spoken about quite a few factors. Um, I think there are 10 factors that you just covered. Um, from your personal experience as an HR practitioner, you would have used all these in some phases or the other. But can you give me one instance where you were able to solve or resolve a difficult situation by understanding the demographics, by understanding what stage is this individual going through, and find a solution for that situation. One real time example, because we, we've shared the framework, the theory, but one example to top this whole conversation out would be phenomenal.
Oh, so actually, Harish, this happens all the time. And that's true of all HR business partners. Every day they have conversations with people who are going through some kind of challenge. And when you come with this understanding about these 7 year cycles, you're able to see very clearly what the person is struggling with. Of course, you're also formally taught counseling and grievance redress or grievance
Redressals.
and all of those things. So those help as well. But I think it is fundamentally to do with I could say every single time that somebody has stepped up to me with a
Mhm.
challenge, um, most of the times I've been able to help. And that helps them rebound. That helps them take a decision that works for them. They get support in terms of the nuances of how to go about it. Once you convinced in your mind that this is what you need to do, you also need help in terms because that's the first time you're doing it. So somebody who's walked on that path earlier is able to throw a light and is able to make it a little bit easier. Is also able to help them see why this is actually an opportunity and for something which they were seeing it as a problem, as a challenge. And so you're able to help them see and understand what it is helping them discover within themselves. What is their gift that shines forth when they face this adversity? And so just having these conversations helps people refocus, change their frames of references, come back with more vigor and ability and determination and resilience. and be better human beings, be better leaders and managers. So every single conversation that I would have had, I can't kind of put my, and it's unfair to say that this is what I've done, because at the end of the day, it's the other person, the person himself or herself chooses to do something or to not to do something. And so you're only a catalyst. You're just kind of seeing something, holding a mirror, helping them process it and helping them deal with it once they take cognizance of it. So, yeah, but I think that there is no successful high performer, manager, leader who's considered really good, has done that by sheer willpower and sheer talent. There are people they speak to. There are
Correct.
there are shady trees under which they rest and rejuvenate. So that's what I would say.
Phenomenal. I think one takeaway for all HR practitioners here would be that whenever somebody steps in and talks about a situation that they are going through, it is not about what we think could be a possible solution, but it's about understanding what is the phase in which they are, and how is that impacting the whole environment in which they are trying to find a solution to it. So this surely helps read the audience better, and I think that is fundamental in dealing with people at the outset. So thank you once again for another phenomenal conversation on employee engagement. There's another part to this coming in the next episode. So till then, to all the humans of HR who just logged in, thank you so much for all the love and support that you've shown. Continue doing that. Please do help us spread the word so that this clan grows, the tribe grows, and we are able to create a community where people really believe that HR really deals with humans of HR. Thank you so much once again. Lovely having this conversation, Chief. Looking forward to the next conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Harish. Looking forward to the next.